Krishna Mataji, how are
Hare
you?
Krishna. Hare Krishna Adi. And yourself, how are you?
Yeah, good Mataji.
Nice.
How
I'm
is
fine.
everything in India?
Yeah, all good. Except we were not well until few days ago. Yeah, otherwise everything is good. So how is everything there?
Yeah.
Good.
Here that virus is spreading very fast. So,
Yeah.
so many people are getting it, but they are calling the people. Department is giving them the call to people to urge them to get for the third vaccine.
Why are they calling?
To get the booster shots.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Even I got first vaccine for Hiti.
So you got your booster or?
No, I still have to get the booster, but I got the kids vaccine. I got first vaccine for Hiti.
Oh, very good.
She got it, yeah. So
That's
next
good.
will be in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
How is Vallabha?
Yeah, Vallabha is fine. And
Okay.
yeah. So this is, when we traveled, we got the COVID as well.
Oh, is it?
And so we were in quarantine and then we tested ourselves negative again. Until then, we were like in quarantine.
Oh,
We did
you
a
got COVID,
RT-PCR again. Yeah,
but you
both my
got
Prabhu
COVID.
and yeah,
Oh,
both
but you
my
got
Prabhu and
COVID
myself.
in you got COVID in the plane.
After coming back to India, 2 days after.
Oh.
Yeah, my husband,
How?
and then my dad as well. We
Oh
infected
my.
my dad.
Oh.
Unfortunately, yeah.
How are they now and how are you?
Yeah, we are all now good, negative now.
Okay, good.
So yeah, so yeah,
All right,
we'll all
Mataji.
Krishna's mercy. Whatever happens, it happens. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Okay, so thanks for joining everybody. Hare Krishna. So we'll continue chapter 6. We left at chapter 6.9 last time before the break, and we'll continue from 6.10. And what was the theme in chapter 6 is fully talking about Ashtanga Yoga. And there is a verse, a very special verse talking about the topmost yoga is Bhakti Yoga. That is said by Krishna himself. So we will see that Yoginam api Sharvesham, that verse we will see eventually. And so far we discussed about there are two stages of yoga practice in Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. And starting from Yoga Ruksha to Yoga Ruda. So from the beginning stage to the perfection stage, one travels. And the final stage is getting perfection, complete perfection, which is Samadhi. But again, if you talk about complete perfection, that is not complete, unless one surrender to Krishna and does Krishna Seva, that's the complete perfection. And none of the other practices and whatever so-called perfection is not full, complete perfection. That we need to understand. And Krishna talks about the different processes that will take us to liberation, like Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and here now Ashtanga Yoga. And then Bhakti Yoga also. But again, as I said before, Ashtanga Yoga, topmost yoga is led by Krishna, that is Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So we'll continue from 10th verse. Yohi unjita sadatam ekaki yata chittatma nirasir aparigrahah. Can you mute yourself, all of you? Just need to mute. 1 second. Okay. So translation, a transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. See, we have this problem of this possessiveness, that this is mine, this is my family, this is my clothes, my society, my country. So in a broader level and in a nutshell also, we all think about this, about me, mine, and I, my, like that. Those type of concept, my concept, that possessiveness concept, that's coming from our mind, or I would say that it's coming from mind, of course, but it's because of wrong identification. So bodily identification is making us think that this is me, this is mine, this is my family, so on and so forth. Correct? But when we wanted to, if one wants to become a transcendentalist, the first thing he has to do is what? The mind control, the self-control, sense control, and of course, getting rid of this possessiveness. So the desires coming from our mind, the mind is always said to be the godown of desires. Okay, all the desires, nice, good desires, bad desires, everything is accumulated there. Even if you want to serve Krishna, that is one of the good desires, that is also coming from our mind. That's why we discussed in chapter 6 earlier, in the earlier verses, that mind can be your best friend or the greatest enemy. Correct? So we have to train our mind in such a way it doesn't give us any trouble, but rather help us pursue what we wanted to achieve, the real goal. That is to attain the kingdom of God. To go back to spiritual world, we need to become qualified. To become qualified, we have to get ourselves ready and practicing things like, how to control our senses and mind and etc. That's why these processes are given, like karma yoga. If one wants to work, but still they want to engage in, spiritual activities, then there is a process called karma yoga for them. But one who doesn't want to do any work, any karmic activities, but rather they wanted to just do meditation only and do philosophical speculation to understand the real truth, absolute truth, then it is fine. That process of jnana yoga is given for that kind of personalities. And then thirdly, one who wanted to do these jnana yogis and the Ashtanga yogis, they are both transcendentalists. And Bhakti yogi is also transcendentalist, but they are far superior than these two other transcendentalists. Okay. And with the process of Ashtanga yoga, though, you have to follow certain practice. It's more strict in terms of practicing or how to practice. Karma yoga is a little more liberal compared to this Ashtanga yoga and Jnana yoga. And Jnana yoga a little more liberal compared to Ashtanga yoga. But when you talk about Bhakti yoga, that's so good and easy process, simple, quick and easy process and very liberal whatsoever. You do it in your own phase. You do it in your own time and place and circumstance and capacity and your mood and everything, because there are so many varieties of practices given. Like even in Bhakti yoga also there are stages. Like you start with how in Dhyana yoga or Ashtanga yoga you have yama, niyama, dharana, dhyana, pranayama, like that, so on and so forth, like 8 stages. Similarly, in Bhakti yoga also there are stages: Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivarti, Nishtha, Rushi, Bhava, Prema, etc. So only up until Prema, no more, etc. So there are stages in everything. Okay, in Karma Yoga also you start with Karma Kandi activities, but gradually you elevate yourself to Karma Yoga, before that, after that, first Shakama Karma Yoga, then Nishkama Karma Yoga. The idea is you're elevating yourself from one platform to the higher platform. That's the idea. Okay. Here it is suggested by Krishna that one has to be in a secluded place and do this practice. We go to the next verse. Okay, so 11 and 12. Sucho desha pratistapya stiram ashanam atmanah nati yushritam nati nicham shaila jina kushotaram tatraikagram manah kritva yata chittendriya kriyah upavishyasena yunjat yohamatma vishudaye. Translation. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point. See, there are so many places, holy places, like like jnanis. They wanted to advance to the next stage. They wanted to practice Ashtanga yoga. They go to Kailash, Himalayas, Vrindavan, Prayag, and so on and so forth. There's so many places there. And see, if we are fortunate enough, these Ashtanga yogis are fortunate enough when they are practicing this meditation process on the super soul, and if they get attracted to the beautiful form of the super soul, which is Shirodakshai Vishnu, 400 Vishnu form, then they might develop bhakti right there itself. From there, that point onwards, they develop this bhakti. As soon as you appreciate the beauty of the Lord, you started to develop that attractiveness, like you are attracted to the Lord now. Krishna means what? All attractive, right? So one day or another, we will get attracted to Krishna. It depends upon how much nasty, dark, dirty thoughts in our heart and mind and activities we have done. Once they are all gotten rid of, then we will eventually start to appreciate Krishna. But until such time we have full of nasty desires, this possessiveness and no sense control, then how, if you have a house and it's so unclean and it's so dirty, and if you are inviting a guest who is so popular and so kind of a holy person, and they wanted to come inside, but your house is so filthy, and they are ready to come, but where do they sit? And this is so unclean place. How do they get the good treatment if that is the situation? Correct? Even you feel awkward. But if you don't mind and bring them inside, then it won't be nice. Correct? That's why you need to clean the place before you invite someone, saintly person, or even some guest, like a regular guest also. You would usually clean the house, make sure things are in order, proper places, and you prepare some food also to offer to them, and you will give them a nice reception, good hospitality and everything, because you have that sense, common sense, correct? Even for this simple guest, you have this type of desire to serve them nicely so that they don't feel offended. Then what to speak of Krishna, the Supreme Lord, who is ready to come and visit us in our heart? Of course, he is already present in our heart as Shirodakshaya Vishnu. But for us to realize that he is in there, or invite him in this, the meaning is you just realize he's present, so you are ready to serve him. Then how much care that we will have to take, right? So that simple process of bhakti we are not ready to take, then how we are going to practice the complicated process that is followed by practitioners of Ashtanga yoga, correct? Like here, Krishna is saying that Ashtanga yogis, if they wanted to practice it properly, they have to go to this saintly place, holy place, and it has to be very isolated, secluded, right? And they should lay one of the grasses type is called kusa. So they have to lay the kusha grass and then put a soft cloth, a deer skin, and then you will get some height. So you'll sit on it. It shouldn't be too high or too low. So you don't want to have the divan or anything with two cushions on your sides, and then there is a back pillow and everything, so you can lay down. Are we going to sleep or what? This is practicing Ashtanga yoga. You need to sit straight and shoulders and upright, and like not shoulders upright, but the backbone upright and the shoulders straight. And your the next verse we will see that how eyes 3/4 closed and everything. So there are rules and regulations. This is called yama and niyama. This is rules and regulation. Yama and niyama means, okay. Yama means don't, niyama means do's. Right. So the next verses 13 and 14. Samam kaya shiro grivam darayan achalam stiraha samprekshya nashikagram swam prashantatma vigatabir brahmachari vrateshitaha manaha samyamya machitto yuktashita matparaha. Translation. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line, stare steadily at the tip of the nose, thus with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So here Krishna, the localized Paramatma, Vishnumurti sitting in our heart, is Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, right? So and this Ashtanga yogi, what they should do is their neck, body and head, everything in straight line. And then they have to stare at the tip of the nose. And now already we discussed that he has to have mind control, sense control. Before he begins the process, these are the prerequisites, correct? But with Bhakti Yoga, you will automatically get the mind control, sense control once after you started practicing Bhakti Yoga. But for Ashtanga Yoga practitioners, they have to have these things controlled before they're coming into this stage, okay, which is very hard, right? Brahmacharya vrite means austerity of celibacy, maintaining the celibacy. And then this is hard. Even Vishwamitra Muni fell down, and there's so many like Lord Indra and Varuna and Varuna, I'm sorry, I don't think so, but Chandra, Lord Chandra, like moon god, and then Brahma. So we have seen so many case studies educating us again and again from Shastras that please be strict on your celibacy part of like, how to control your sex desires. So it's teaching us, because topmost pleasure, it is considered, it's not topmost pleasure. Of course, bhakti and getting the love for God is the topmost pleasure, but because we don't have the taste, we are so much contaminated by these material pleasures, we are not able to see the vision of the true pleasure, which is only derived by getting attracted to Krishna and loving Krishna and serving Krishna and everything. But until such time, we consider generally on the mortal world that sex life is the topmost pleasure, correct? And controlling that is hard. So that's why we need some external forces or factors to help us to control, like Bhakti Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga. But for Bhakti Yoga, it will be controlled easily because you get Param Dristva Nivartate, you get higher pleasure, so you'll be able to control it easily. And next is 15. Injanevam sadatmanam yogi niyata manasaha shantim nirvana paramam matsamstam adhikachati. Translation. Thus, practicing constant control of the body, mind and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God by cessation of material existence. So he has to stop doing the other regular activities, now focus fully on this practice of meditation and meditating with one pointed focus, and then focus on the Supreme Lord, the super soul within our heart, and that one pointedness help us. But it's very hard, even the study shows that because we are constantly on the screens, like either phone or the telephone, or not telephone, sorry, the mobile phone or the tablets or the laptop or different type of gadgets, you're constantly on the screen kind of life, that we are always distracted. Bhagavatam says that we are upadristaha, we are disturbed. And it's not that, it said, Bhagavatam says that 1.1.10, upadristaha, we always disturb. It's not that we are disturbed only in the morning or afternoon or once in a while. No, we are always disturbed. If you see, because of constant exposure to the screens, which are always manipulating us and making us think the way they wanted us to think, this passes the function of our brain. And these type of constant pause and a very prolongated pause, it's not that pause for 1 second and then you move on to the next, reading a book or doing some other very useful activities like gardening or cycling or cooking or reading about Krishna or chanting. You're not doing this anything, these type of activity, but rather you're only immersed yourself in the screen time. Then it just drains the brain capacity, because your brain is now switched off for a long period of time per day, and every day this is happening consistently. Then you're not able to think properly, because your cognitive skills stops or passes, and your the rational thinking capacity goes down, and then rational intelligence goes down. And because you see for yourself, when you read books, especially sastras like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, or anything related to spiritual activities like spiritual path, but from bona fide source, of course, then you get so many ideas which you already might know. You might know that thing already, but then it comes in a different package, and it just gets to your mind, your heart, and your brain. It stays there, right? And then it will help you to use it when you wanted to, right? When the situation comes, then you'll think, yeah, I read that, and I think this is how we can handle this situation because I read that from some way, and this is how it helps. But if you're watching something that is not going to help us in any way, it's not going to help us solve the problem, but rather it just passes everything. Problems still exist, but it's just there is a pass. There is just a small break from looking at the problem, but the problem still exists. Then this is not going to help us, right? That is why we need to get out of this constant exposure to the screens and mobile phones and keep it very minimum, because the insomnia, the depression, and mental health is really affected because of these kind of constant exposures like Wi-Fi signals and Bluetooth signals. So many stuff going on. Even I'm worried and I am concerned as well. I'm telling you, and we are all victims. It's not just I'm telling you because I'm not a victim. I'm a victim as well. So we have to make sure we get out of these practices, wrong practices, and get ourselves or train our mind to get attracted to good practices like reading a good book, a spiritual book like Bhagavad Gita suggests. Number 16, Nati Ashnatastu yogosti naicha kantam anastanaha nachati swapna shilasya jagrado naivacha arjuna. Translation: there is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi or Arjuna if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. It's another problem, right? In Kali Yuga, you see, we have this fast food and instant food and so many stuff. I remember when you buy a noodles, it was a while ago, but I don't know if it's still the same issue. What happens is they give you the pack of dehydrated, I think. What do you call? I don't know if it is called dehydrated. I think so. Dehydrated vegetables. Put it in a pack, and then you can just add those in the noodles, and then it becomes like carrot and beans and whatever piece, and you don't have to use fresh vegetables. And there are frozen vegetables, there are canned vegetables, there are fruits as well in such a form, like frozen fruits and packed fruits. And we are good practice, like buying fresh fruits and fresh vegetables and cooking fresh and homemade. We are so much addicted to this. I think I lost the signal. 1 second. Okay. So if at any time you stop hearing me, please WhatsApp me, because any problem, you just message me. Or yeah, I'm having poor internet connection, I think. Okay. And also we see these problems like obesity, the weakness and everything. We should make sure that, oh, voice is not audible. Can you hear me? Oh, it's not clear, is it? Because I think the internet is so slow. Let me check. Hare Krishna, can you hear me? Is it better now? Okay, I'll continue now. Okay, so here this verse suggests that, of course, Krishna is suggesting that if you want to practice yoga, you can't eat too much or eat too little, or sleeping too much or sleeping too little. It's not good enough. You need to make sure everything is in moderation. Okay, so again, chapter 3 also we studied that. We are in 6th chapter now. In chapter 3, we studied how eating food that is not offered to Krishna is just the sin only. It's very much sin only. Krishna says, right? Therefore, we have to make sure whatever we eat, we just offer it to Krishna, at least in our mind, and then eat. But of course, we should try to and make an endeavor, take an effort to offer to Krishna directly in a plate and proper utensils that is separately kept for Krishna only. And if that is practically not possible every time, then at least practice that in our mind, that to offer to Krishna before eating that food. All right, 17th verse. Yuktahara viharasya yukta chestasya karmashu yukta swapnava bodhasya yoga bhavati dukkha. Translation. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. So everything in moderation we discussed, right? So he has to regulate these habits, not just the habit of meditation, but also these everyday practice like eating, sleeping, recreation, and work. And he has to, practice in a way that it's all regulated. And Prabhupada in this verse, he suggests that we should eat prasadam, that's sanctified food, the food offered to Krishna. And Krishna suggests in chapter 9.26 that how he accepts whatever you offer to him with love and devotion. Of course, we should know what we should offer. If we don't know, we should ask a guru or representatives, bona fide guru. We can't just offer anything in the sense you offer meat or some food that is not acceptable by Krishna. Right, verse 18. Yada viniyatam chittam atmani eva vatistate Nispraha sarva kamebhyo yukta iti uchyate tata. Translation. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga. See, mental activities means it's very important. See, our mental activities are so mental only. We think about this, and another minute we think about something else. We jump from one country to another country, one place to another place, because our mind is really tricky monkey mind. It keeps on thinking about things that is absolutely waste of time, absolutely waste of it's wasteful thoughts only. Okay, and when we have the strength to discipline our mental activities, like how we should control the mind in the sense that if mind thinks about things that is completely waste of time, then we should refrain ourselves from thinking that and focus on the things that are useful. It doesn't mean that you constantly think about this or that, but that's why we should turn off the mind, turn off the mind for some time. Every day we have to practice this. How is there are different ways you could do it. When you read a book, right, your mind is switched off from thinking whatever that is not necessary for the time being. When you're focused on thinking, I mean not thinking, so reading the book, and I love reading books, okay, and good books, not just any book, good books. And when you read books, and I look, I was not the case of like liking to read a book or anything like that when I was young. Of course, during school holidays, I used to read a novel, but again, that's not like a regular thing, right? It's not a daily thing or anything like that, because in school holidays, it's so boring. You need to do something, and back then, you didn't have screen time, right? You don't have TV. Even if you have TV, the only show that will be on Fridays, on like half an hour, and then Sundays, nothing else on the rest of the week. So therefore, you're forced to do something useful, and that was good, right? That was good. So we would go to, my sister and I would go to library, borrow some books, come home, read, and return the books and get new books, and again continue reading. This is how we spend our holidays back then. But now that students, they're not keen in reading books. They think that they're too busy to do useful things, but they have plenty of time to do rubbish things. Correct? This is very common. And especially these days, this is what is happening. And mental activities, how to control, is like one example is reading book, on doing gardening. But even that time, what happens, your mind will take you somewhere else, which is not necessary to be there, but then you have to bring the mind back. But chanting is the most appropriate practice at all times. Chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is all time useful thing, whether you are at any place, whether you're in home or you're in any place like office or even in toilet, you can still do it. Okay. So, all right. So we'll move on to the next verse. Yatha deepo nivatashto nangate sopama smrta yohino yata chittasya yunjato yohamadmanaha. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. See, if you are not disturbed, right? Sometimes if you watch a movie, for example, or something very interesting show on TV, you're so much focused that you don't, you don't think about anything else. Even if someone calls, you can't even hear. Your audio system is blocked, and your vision is only on that. It's one pointedness on the TV, and your mouth is not doing anything. Your hands and legs, everything is steady, still, and you're just focused on one thing, right? But this much focus, we never get it in meditation, right? When we chant, that's when you think about 100 different things and to-do list and cooking menu and everything, it will come to your mind. Until before, it never came across. But now that once you started chanting Hare Krishna, automatically you think about 100 different things, and which is not necessary right now, and which are not useful either. And again, we need to tell the mind. But for the yogi who are practicing this daily as full-time business, then what they do is they at one stage, because they follow this yama niyama, that process, then they one stage they come to the stage of steadiness, right? And now that they are able to control their mind, and even if how the river enters the ocean, the ocean doesn't get agitated, right? Or when the rain falls into the ocean doesn't get agitated. Oh no, the rain is coming down, and now I have to increase my level of water. No, the ocean doesn't worry about all this. It's just stay still. Similarly, anything happens around you when you're doing this practice, you're not disturbed. That is very higher level of that higher stage of meditation practice. It's not easy. How when the wind comes, the lamp stays still. That means the lamp is highly protected. So similar to that, we have to protect our mind with some shelter, like protection, like bhakti yoga practice. Then automatically what happens is anything disturbs us, we will not be disturbed. As I was giving a metaphor or an example or analogy, that how the river enters the ocean doesn't get agitated like that. And verses 20 to 23, Yatro paramate chittam nirudam yoga sevaya yatra chaivat manatmanam pashyan atmani tushyati shukam atyantikam yadat buddhi grahayam atindriyam vedti yatra nachaivayam sitas chalati tatvatah yam ladva chaparam labham manyate natikam tatah yashmin sito no dukkena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidya dukkasham yoga viyogam yoga shamhitam. All right, translation. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In the joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed in actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So this practice, yoga practice, is very, very difficult. Okay, this is not easy for all of us. Okay, and this is not recommended for us either. Even though Krishna says all this, and then afterwards Arjuna would ask that how can I do it? And of course, that's why Krishna suggests that Bhakti Yoga is the best and it's superior. So one, it is best and it is superior of all, and it is simple, it is easy, and it's quick to reach the liberation state or perfection state. Correct? When there is simple way of achieving thing, and it's a bona fide, it's well tested and experimented, and it works, then why do we have to spend time on something else which is very extraneous? Like you have to put extra effort there, and it's very difficult, and it's not guaranteed, and perfection is also not guaranteed, and liberation is also not guaranteed. Then why we have to bother about that type of practice? I don't understand, correct? We should question that why do we have to spend time and energy in something that is not practically possible and functional? And why do we have to talk about that? But still we should know about it at least, so that we know that whatever is given to us, that Bhakti Yoga practice is far better than other practices. See, even here also, you when you reach that stage, and then they will not be disturbed by even if there are any greater difficulty, but you will achieve the same result when you practice Bhakti Yoga. Okay, you have to follow all these rules and regulations, and then you will experience that kind of freedom from material miseries. Because see, only when you are having that possessiveness, The problem when it comes to you, then you think that this is your problem and you have to solve the problem, and it is affecting your family, your society. When you think about this, all these factors in the matter of possessiveness, then we will experience the suffering, correct? We will feel that it's so annoying, why this is happening to me, and etc. But when you feel, or when you see the things, whatever the difficulties come to us outside of the box, then what happens is you're not disturbed. You see that, okay, Krishna is giving you for something, for some reason. You don't know that yet. You have to wait and see. But let's see what has to happen next. Okay, what's next? How do we handle this? So that's why we need that the rational intelligence. Rather than complaining about it or lamenting about it, we should just move on and see the things from God's perspective. Even though we can't see everything in God's perspective fully, but we should understand that this is approved by God, therefore we should accept it and let's execute it. That is the mentality or the attitude we should develop. That's the point. 24. Sa nishyane yoktavyo yoga nirvinna chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamams tyaktva sarvan asheshatah manasaivaindriya gramam viniyamya samantatah. Samantatah means from all sides. So viniyamya. So you need to regulate mind. Manasa indriya. Manasa means mind. Indriya means senses. Indriya gramam means the full set of senses. Translation: one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith. Two things has to happen. Like, one is faith, which you will have, faith in Krishna, faith in the practice you will have, but the determination has to be there as well, and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Oh, it's very difficult. So we have 5 senses, but these 5 senses, the torture that are given by these 5 senses are so frustrating that you can't control. You just succumb to it. You just accept it. You get defeated by these senses again and again. The senses wanted to enjoy. The mind tells, yeah, this is how we should do it. The mind plots the plan, and then senses are ready to execute, right? And you just go ahead and do it, whatever you wanted to do. And intelligence is telling you, and you understand that whatever intelligence is telling you is true, and whatever the activity you are going to do is not right, intelligence is telling you, and you just still do it. That's because we have weak intelligence and no determination, and we don't want to give up on those material desires. Material desires are very strong. It comes in all directions, right? Senses also in all directions, the sense objects, and this material desires, it comes from every way. It is hard to control. All right, verse number 25. Sanaya uparamed buddhya dhriti grihitaya atma samstam mana kritva na kinchidapi chintayet. Translation: gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. See, here we have to have conviction. We should accept it. Yeah, this is the right process, and there should be full conviction and intelligence, and not just intelligence, but proper intelligence. You need to have these 2 factors: conviction and proper intelligence, and proper conviction, and then we can gradually see this. We can gradually control the mind. But here, for Ashtanga yogis, they have to stop the sense activities. Okay, material sense activities, they have to stop. So withdraw their senses. That is pratyahara. So the mind controlled by this process, my conviction, meditation, and stopping the activities of the senses, then we can slowly and gradually attain this process, stage of samadhi. At that time, there is no longer any danger. I'm just reading the purport here. There is no longer any danger of becoming engaged in the material conception of life. In other words, although one is involved with matter, as long as the material body exists, one should not think about sense gratification. One should think of no pleasure aside from the pleasure of the Supreme Self. This state is easily attained by directly practicing Krishna consciousness. That is true. So when you practice Krishna consciousness, automatically you derive the pleasure from serving the Lord, by serving the Lord and eating prasadam and doing the spiritual activities, because you are engaging your body, mind, and senses, and everything in the spiritual path. Therefore, there is no time or less time for other material needs, bodily needs, for other material activities. It's not wrong to engage your body in eating or sleeping or anything like that. Of course, as long as you have this material body, you have to maintain your body by doing regular activities, which are okay. But you shouldn't do it to gratify your senses. That is the point, that's the difference. That's the point we need to understand also. Verse 26. Yatho nishalati manas chanchalam astiram tato niyamaya yat atmani eva vasham nayet. From wherever the mind wanders due to icha, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. So when Arjuna says that, when Sanchalam He Mana Krishna, when Arjuna says that mind is so restless and flickering and, very disturbed, and Krishna accepts it and agrees, yes, true. So what you have to do is, you have to, when mind wanders here and there, you need to bring back the flickering mind. You have to bring it back. It goes again, it goes back, and then bring it back again. This is because our mind is so unsteady. Unless your mind is engaged in Krishna consciousness, the mind will go elsewhere. Even if you practice Krishna consciousness, until you reach advanced stage of practicing Krishna consciousness, you will continue to experience this problem. Okay, that is why we need devotees association. You need to be constantly engaged in some devotional activities, reading a book, Krishna conscious book, eating prasadam, and talking about Krishna, hearing about Krishna. So you need to constantly engage in this type of activity. Then again, when you have only little time to spend for something else, then by the time you're already tired, you're not interested in those type of activities, then you save your life, correct? Because we don't need to spend, we are not here to spend our time and energy in nonsensical activities, but rather to serve the Lord. And then therefore we can purify our senses, our mind, our body, and everything is purified, and we can go back to Krishna, never need to come back again. So that's the whole idea, right? So this is the last verse for today, verse number 27, but we'll continue from next week, next verses. Prashanta manasam hiyenam yoginam sugam uttamam upayati santarajasham brahma bhutam akalmasham. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reaction to past deeds. This is great also. So how Ambrish Maharaj was engaging all his senses, his body and mind, everything in Krishna consciousness, like in Krishna's service, and he was saved by Sudarshan Chakra. And this is how it works, right? Krishna doesn't have to come personally. Even his representatives, his devotees, and anyone who follows Krishna can help us when we are in trouble. So we don't need necessarily, Krishna is coming to us directly or personally. Of course, if he wants, he can come. It's not about that, but he always protects us. He makes sure he's protecting us by sending someone or something when we are in trouble. And that will happen when we have this full conviction, proper conviction, determination, and following this process. And also we will see this highest perfection perfection of transcendental happiness, we will feel it when we continue to follow this process. But the problem is, we do it one day, we just stop it another day, and then we can continue next week. Then this will become difficult. So we have to be consistent also. And when we reach this higher mode of material nature, beyond this passion and ignorance, and we understand that we are qualitatively one with Krishna, but not quantitatively, of course, then boom, all our karma, past karma, karmic reactions are gone, taken care of by Krishna. He says that moksha kshiyami masuchaha sarvadharman parityajya, that was. So from that also we understand how Krishna protecting us. But here, even for Ashtanga yogis, this is the result. Then you can imagine what would be the result for Bhakti yogis, correct? Because that's the topmost yoga. All right, I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Okay, so if no questions, I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.